Hello everyone, and welcome to Storytime with Chris. Sadly, today's advent calendar short has not been made in time due to a problem with colour grading. They couldn't quite get the blue right at frame 219 to convey the protagonist's sense of utter dread. Of course I mean that word protagonist, I just rambled here as of course I'm doing this quite last minute in my living room, so there may be some problems with colour correction or lighting, which hopefully we can all ignore. Now, onto the story. Today I've got a great one for you, which is a timeless classic called Rudolph, the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Except, it's not quite a timeless classic. Sorry to distract from the story here, but this is crucial information. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is not a timeless classic, it's a book by Robert L. May, published in 1939 by the good folks at Montgomery May Publishing. And it's actually quite interesting because they published two editions. They published the first edition, which is the normal edition. Then in 1958 they revised it for children aged 5 to 12, which is actually quite strange given that the first one everyone knows was well acclaimed by critics for its gritty depictions of life in Santa's ghetto. Anyway, so I better get back on board and stop making these kind of mistakes. So let's go back to the beginning and tell you that I've got actually the original edition here, which the cover actually says Holy Bible, but inside I have the original linear notes, which are inside here. I'm not going to show them to the camera because that would spoil the story for you, which I'm going to tell you. So, onto the story itself. So, let's have a look through here. What is it? That's Corinthians. Right, okay, so we're on to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Now, as you all know, so I can build a vivid description in your head, reindeer are actually mythical creatures. They're located in Scotland. No one's ever actually seen a reindeer properly, but there are some grainy pictures, just so you can build that picture in your head. But if you can't quite visualise that, then actually, there should be one on the screen right here. Now, just to warn you, this isn't a real reindeer. We're actually using clever editing techniques to render a reindeer on the screen. So if you look, I can go like that, and my hand's going through, so don't be panicked, we haven't actually got a reindeer in the studio. Actually, that's a good point, I've got my laptop on me here, if I can just load this up, and I can give you a quick tutorial on Premiere Pro on how to do an overlay. I'm not getting, do you know what the problem is? It's like locked. Just sort it. There you go, mate. Okay, so apparently I won't be able to give you that tutorial today, as my laptop appears to have broken, but anyway, Rudolph was a reindeer, and he had a very shiny nose. Now this was a massive nose, it came on like a big part of his face, so we're talking like probably this big or this big, like the full, this is big like a Honda Jazz, for example. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen a Honda Jazz, but Honda Jazzes are fucking brilliant. You go inside a Honda Jazz, you see it from the outside, you think, oh my god, there's no way like 5 people can fit in there. I mean, that's 5 seats, but at the same time, like, it's a small car. I mean, what do you do? And you open the door, it's a fucking TARDIS. Like, it's incredible. Anyway, back to the stories. I keep detracting. So Rudolph was a red-nosed reindeer, and he had a very shiny nose. When people saw him, they remarked on how shiny it was, and it was a really big sight. But sadly, not everyone was happy with it. All of the other reindeer, they'd laugh and call him names, and I guess that's where the story ends. I've got nothing else here, so I suppose the moral of that story is if you're different, then maybe that's not okay, and maybe people should just, I don't know, bully you. It's not very Christmassy. So anyway, back to the story. I realise I keep saying so anyway, but I just keep going off on so many tangents. So back to the story. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer had a very shiny nose, and if you saw it, it glue. And the other reindeer weren't very happy with that, so they decided to bully him. Now, on this day, it gets really cold because, literary theorist in me believes that it's a pathetic fallacy triggered by Rudolph's inner pain at his massive nose, and it gets more tragic because he can't wear his sunblocker and the reindeers bully him more because he's got a red nose. So this is one of the saddest days on Rudolph's life. He's very, very down. And then, because it's cold, and this is the uplifting part of the story, Santa Claus notices Rudolph's nose and he says, hey, you've got a red nose over there. That could be used. Actually, in the song, it's Rudolph with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight? But in this instance, Santa Claus says, hey, you've got a nose. Can you pull my sleigh? Because Santa Claus isn't very articulate because he drunk most of the year on sherry. And this is quite interesting because really, I mean, Rudolph here is elected the leader of the sleigh. He's right at the front of the sleigh, which, I mean, he has no skills. I mean, in this environment, he's never ever pulled a sleigh before. He's never done anything. Like Santa Claus, he's been ignored because he's not very good reindeer. So how does he rise to the rank of the one who guides Santa Claus's sleigh? And this is through fucking nepotism, right? And it's the bane of anyone trying to get into employment these days, okay? Nepotism. I try and apply for a job in the TV industry with, well, questionable production value shows like this. I put them on my CV. No, the fucking director's daughter gets the job because, you know, they're the director's daughter, right? So if you're looking for a job post your degree, don't pick English because you won't get any jobs unless you know people. Rudolph gets to guide a sleigh by Santa Claus and on nothing. But if you want to take it on a cheerier note, then it's also about him, you know, breaching adversity and, you know, teaching people that everyone's different, contrary to what I thought the story was about before. So, that's my two takes on it, and I hope you've enjoyed this brief story. Hopefully tomorrow the advent calendar won't be this spontaneous and improvised, because I can't keep sitting in my living room telling these stories, but if I had to, I'd probably tell one of Frosty the Snowman. But my director Adam has told me to read this cheery round-off that he wrote for me, which is, I hope you enjoy this Christmas day. Goodbye. And I believe that's our show. Can we roll credits now? We can cut that if you want. Do you want me to cut it? Oh, he's doing that thing where I get...
Cut!